right. How's it going, Emily? Thank you for joining the Vamos Rundown. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, good morning. It's all going good.
Great. Yeah, it's been a great morning, great Monday. Now the rain is past and now it's blue skies. We're ready to get out on the trails, I guess. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. I mean, like I said, it's a treat. We have one of the top athletes in the ultra trail sport joining us today. Just a few accolades for the people. Emily is sponsored by Adidas Terrex, one of the top teams in the world. She is a three-time top 10 finisher of the Western States. I believe you got fifth place last year. You have completed the UTMB Mont Blanc full course, so that's amazing. And you were second place in their 100K distance, so that's another amazing feat that you have there. And then a week or two ago, you just actually won a UTMB. Was it in Italy? So you won something over there. So congratulations on that. And first off, how was Italy? How was the trip over in Europe?
Oh my gosh, it was amazing, and just incredible people who are super proud of their history and wine and food, and it was just amazing.
And that was in Chianti, right?
Chianti, yeah.
Awesome. And then that was that distance like 73K. I heard you got a course record as well. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's just learn a little bit about you. I know it seems like you have a lot of national pride. So tell us about where you're from and what brought you to the United States. What does that journey look like?
Yeah, so I'm from Zimbabwe in Africa. And I came over to the States for college just to experience a different part of the world, a different kind of world system. And my family is all back in Zimbabwe. We own a farm back there, and so they work the farm life from 4 a.m. to 8. And my brother moved back there too. He went to university in Australia to kind of get the same experience I did, and then he decided to go back home.
Wow, awesome. So do any correlation with being in Zimbabwe and coming from a family that's farm workers and things like that, do you think that has any correlation to you finding your path to ultra running or just trail running in general?
I always loved running outside, like on the farm when I was growing up. My mom loved it in the evenings, and we family walk around the farm in the evening. So probably I mean being outside is a huge thing over there, and it was very much a part of my childhood growing up. And I went to school and spent so much time outside. So yeah, I think so.
Nice. And then now when you made it to the United States, what college did you go to?
The College of Idaho.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I've been to Idaho. My sister actually went to school in Idaho. So you guys are probably around the same age. So maybe you've had some races that you guys crossed paths together at some of those races over there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then how about your free time? Any hobbies so what are you doing outside of running just to keep yourself kind of balanced from that aspect?
Yeah, so it's funny because a lot of my life does revolve around running or coaching a sport, which I love. Like, people ask me, isn't that too much? Like, don't you wish you had something else? Like, no, I love these people. I should be around them all the time. So that's what I did. So yeah, I coach, and then I do a lot of gardening and
nice.
house upkeep and everything. I love it. Play a lot of disc golf, read a lot of books. I always have a project going on. And with Adidas Terrex, it's kind of cool. I've had some really cool opportunities. Like tomorrow I'm flying down to San Luis Obispo to do a photo shoot and chat with them. And then I'm going out to San Francisco in a couple weeks. So I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm sure. Wow. Well, I need to get that's actually on my list to do this summer as the weather gets better is disc golf. So I definitely want to take that up because I know I believe we're pretty much I'm in Folsom and you're in the area too, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of disc golf courses around here. So I need to definitely take that up. So awesome to hear. So what does your progression as an ultra runner look like? Because it sounds like you ran in college, right? And how did you find your way to just the trails and then kind of that progression to becoming an ultra athlete?
Yeah, so I ran all through school from the age of 5, ran cross country and stuff, and then came to college, managed to walk on to the track and cross country team. And then I was doing triathlons in the summers, and I enjoyed that, and I thought that might be like my continued sport, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really enjoying the bike, and I ended up doing what ended up being my last Ironman. And then I met my coach the next weekend, and he, like, I was just asking him, at a friend's wedding, like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I coach high school, and then I coach some athletes that run in the mountains. And my heart just kind of like jumped at that opportunity. And I didn't even know him. And I was like, can I do that? And I was like, oh, it just sounded heavenly to be away from all the cars and like people all the time and doing something different, and just getting to be out in the mountains. And yeah, so that's how I found the trails.
That's awesome. No, the trails are definitely amazing. And I mean, right here in our backyard, it's just like a playground of trails. So are you living out here purposefully because of the mountains, or what brought you out to this Northern California region?
Yeah, just an opportunity. Some friends needed some help caretaking their house, and I was just graduating grad school, and they were like, would there be any chance you'd want to come stay here and look after the place for us? And I was like, yeah, I'm in. And it was great. I mean, perfect location, just kind of an ideal situation too, with being like 20 minutes from the end of the Western States course
Yeah.
and having trails really close by. So seriously, a blessing all around. And yeah, I love it.
That's fantastic. So now let's just because obviously you have a passion. You see you lit up when you said the trail. So what does the sport of trail running mean to you, and the progression of the sport? I mean, even the last 2 years, it just seems like it was kind of underground. Now it's getting a little bit more commercialized, and it just kind of more of a mainstream thing. So what does it mean to you? And two, where do you think that path of the sport, where do you think that's going, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's my passion. It's something I'd be doing if I didn't, you know, if
Yeah.
I was working a 9 to 5 job, like I'd be out on the trails at 8.
Yeah.
And I love it. I've just lucked out that it's become my job, and I get to really live it out as a professional athlete. So I studied exercise physiology and high altitude exercise physiology in college and grad school, and it's like the perfect kind of learning trajectory too. I learn
Yeah.
something every day, even just on myself, and then I get to learn through my athletes too. But yeah, I don't know. It means it's like everything too. Like I said, it's become my community of people, and it is like very much a part of like where I love to be. My method to like explore the world, and yeah, it's so amazing. And then where the sport is going or how it's grown, it definitely has grown. But it's amazing. It's grown more in our community, and our community is growing, which makes it really cool.
Yeah.
A lot more people that know what trail running is. But it is amazing still how many times like I'll say like I'm a trail runner, and they're like, oh, what is that? And I just managed to get a professional athlete visa over here in the States, for like as the first trail runner. And I had to put together like a big portfolio to try and tell them like what trail running is, how it's considered a professional and everything. And initially I got back a like, yeah, we don't know response. And so I put together this huge binder to show them like everything and results and like how like I was racing Courtney DeWalter and she's amazing. So please
Yeah,
like consider us professional. And yeah, so it's slowly getting there, but it's still really small. And yeah,
yeah.
we got a long way to grow, and it's an exciting time to be a part of this community.
That's awesome. Well, one, thank you for being like a pioneer of this sport and especially a trailblazer. And then two, congratulations on that visa. That's awesome. So
Thank
that's
you for
yeah,
both.
yeah, that's fantastic. So what's cool is I actually briefly we were in the same race at Salmon Falls, so that was awesome. I see that you run a lot of local races, so that's really cool to have just a face of the sport out there and somebody who's like a pro in this field. So that's amazing. So thank you for that. What does the rest of your season look like? Are there any big key races ahead that you're kind of aiming for?
Yeah, so first of all, on the community races, I mean, all the big races we couldn't do without our community, and the small races, and getting able to be connected with everyone, and get to race with everyone and meet everyone out there. Like it makes the races so much fun and just so enjoyable, even the big ones. And I'm just so grateful to our community out here. Like this community goes above and beyond. We have at least one race every weekend.
Yeah.
um, so super big thanks to everyone here. And then yeah, the rest of my season so far, I have space for local races, so we'll see if I can hop in anything. But I have Western States on the calendar, and then
Awesome.
UTMB again, the full
The
loop.
full.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. What does that look like? Just going from Western States to UTMB, is it enough recovery time? What is that like little gap in, from Western States to UTMB? Are you kind of just relying on the same fitness? How does that look like transitioning from Western States to UTMB, especially the full course?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and it's so individual. For me, I've kind of found the perfect balance between the two, and my main thing is I just make sure I fully recover from states, and then the space I have between, I can use. I get to go play in the mountains a bunch because UTMB is a much more vertical course,
Yeah.
and so that's my joy, and I love the transition between the two too. But for a lot of people, it's not enough time recovery wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just my main goal is to get recovered. And I always have it on the cards too. Like if something is wrong or, I'm injured at all, like UTMB is still, it's on the cards, but it's not on the cards to screw up the rest of my career. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's smart. And are you usually there a bit early just to kind of acclimate to, being in Europe and time difference and of course terrain difference, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So going over to Europe, definitely for any race you do, the more time you can take to be there, it definitely just helps with all those things. And at UTMB, Adidas Terrex does a really cool thing. It's usually the only event of the year we're all there together as a team. And so taking the extra time early is not only like to adjust and stuff, but we get a house early and we all live together early. And so that's how like one time of the year we kind of get to really live life together as a team, and that's been so nice. So I love that part of it.
Well, that's fantastic. You guys should make a documentary about it. I'd watch that for sure.
Okay, deal. I'll pass on the idea.
Exactly. Say Ray Avalos, I had that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So obviously you're in the thick of training right now. I would assume you're kind of progressing towards Western States. What does that look like for you? Just like a mileage standpoint, cross training standpoint, straight standpoint? Do you focus on a lot of vertical? I know that's a lot to pack in, but what does your kind of training block look like right now?
Yeah, so super nice. I have a coach and he figures all that stuff out for me. And then I have a strength coach too, and he kind of keeps me on track. And I always say, like, we keep the body and the engine going at the same rate. Right now, I'm actually in recovery just from, I raced last weekend in Italy. So just recovering from that. And right now I've kind of packed it all in because I knew I was going to have a little more downtime. So I'm like flying to San Luis Obispo tomorrow. So there's a little more flexibility when it comes to my recovery stuff. And I just got back from my friend's bachelorette in Oregon.
Fun.
And I know, so it's full, which is great. But yeah, mileage. I'm a low mileage athlete, or a lower mileage athlete. Like 60 miles a week is pretty normal for me, and yeah, kind of a little bit of everything when it comes to vert and speed and stuff. I have strength every day, at least 10 minutes of strength every day, strength and mobility, which keeps me going. And yeah, it's a good week, but I love that my coach is always flexible and he changes stuff up. Like I don't have any 2 weeks exactly the same, which is super exciting and keeps training really fun. And now with the warm weather, it's like be outside. Yeah.
Can't wait. Everything's green too because all of the rain, so it's super beautiful outside. I'm looking forward this weekend. I have a long run plan, so I'm like kind of itching for it. I know the weather's going to be so amazing. So.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So with that, I love that you say the 60-mile weeks is kind of where you're at. That I feel like that's my sweet spot. Whenever I go like 80 or more plus, I just haven't mastered it. My body just doesn't feel right. I feel a little bit more energized right around that 60 range. So that's good that one of the pros in the sport is having ultra success at about 60 miles. So it makes me feel like there's hope for my personal PRs.
Yeah. There's always like bigger weeks, but you can always be doing something more, and it doesn't have to be more mileage or more strength. There's always just something. And so, like you said, you just have to find your perfect balance and then really believe in it too. And you'll see the results. And that's the biggest thing. Like, don't feel like you have to be doing what everyone else is doing at all. Find what works for you and what's perfect for you. And yeah.
That's awesome. So let's shift gears to just during 100-mile race, people always harp on nutrition. So what are your go-to foods or just nutritional choices that you make when you're in those really long, grueling kind of races?
Yeah. Another great question because it changes all the time. But kind of right now, what I've settled on is I love the Morton gels and drink mixes. So they've been really good. And I actually use the Tailwind Recovery drink mix, the chocolate flavor, in my bottles. So I drink that during my race too. And then bananas are super key. And then kind of my go-to real foods in like the longer races. My mom makes this really cool, like delicious, like curried chicken thing, but it's not spicy. And that's really good. Rice and avocado and cheese and olive oil. Ugh, so good. I've tried everything, the little baby potatoes, and we just went to a Spanish island for team camp, and they make these baby potatoes, but they like boil them down to the point where they have this like crusty salt outer, and they are super nice and salty, and they're like perfect. I'm like, okay, that's the goal. That's what I need.
Somehow make the stomach happy, but taste good.
Yeah. I always have a backup of sour worms, which I'm always convinced I'll use, and I hardly ever use. And I've definitely craved donuts before and coffee. So yeah, it's super nice on the Ultra World. Like you can kind of use anything.
Yeah. Trial and error. You're like, oh, I'm never using that again. Or that was awesome.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
So talk about like just bad times and stuff like that and good times. I just say there's beauty in the struggle. I feel like during those, like the furthest I've gone is 100K, but even during that time, you have the highs of highs, the lows of lows, and then all of a sudden you prevail. Has there been a time where, it's just a really kind of memorable moment that you've had a race where, you've had those highs of highs, lows of lows, and it ended up being a really successful race?
Yeah, I think kind of in every race they kind of come. I did have a teammate tell me after I said recently that, a lot of times it does hurt.
Yeah.
She told me it doesn't always have to hurt, but I don't know. When you run long distances, it hurts pretty bad. So
Oh yeah.
especially if you're pushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so many.
Yeah.
But the most recent race was really like kind of fun to talk about too, and it was
Yeah.
it was fun.
Let's hear about
Obviously
it.
the
Let's hear
front
a
of
little
my
bit.
mind. Okay. So it was really like great day. It was going really well. There was always kind of a gap. I kind of took the lead like just before 5K in, and then the girls were behind me within 2 minutes for quite a while,
Yeah.
and I ran into one of the aid stations, kind of the first crude aid station. My coach was there, and he's like, "Okay, the girl we thought was going to be like your big competition, who has been right behind you all day, has dropped back, but there's a Brit that stepped up, and
Mhm.
the trail running community." So I was like, "Oh, is it Tara?" And it was, my friend Tara, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, she's having like an epic day if she's moved up to that close." And so I was super like stoked for her, but obviously like, okay, on the hunt, gotta move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like just thinking like, oh, like, I wonder like what her strengths are, what her weaknesses are, that type of thing. Like, where can I kind of make up a little ground, because 2 minutes is not actually that far. And so I knew the next section coming up, and I just run it a couple days before. And so I kind of took off out the aid station and like sprinting, but my bottle was like whacking into my side. And so I was super focused on that, but I'm like moving because it's like the technical section, which I'm strong at. And so I'm like moving, but fixing my bottle. And suddenly I look up, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this before. And I'd missed a like hard 90-degree turn
Oh.
and gone like 0.2 miles over off the course and down a bunch of vert. And so I'm like, okay. So like turn around, like run back up, convince this guy that I promised him we were off course. He just had to believe me. And we like get back up to the turn, and I look up, and it's an uphill. Like you turn right and then start climbing, and she was ahead of me. Like
Oh.
second girl was already ahead of me. I'm like, oh, okay. And so it was kind of cool to like maybe learn past experience, or use lessons learned from past experiences into that situation, to like climb up to her, and then like when I went by her and kind of getting data as I went by too, like I got to see how she was running and kind of how she was feeling, because when you're like ahead of anyone, you can't really get good data on people behind you, because they haven't seen them yet. So that was a really cool experience, and like went by. And then at the next day station, I told my coach, I was like, story for the end. But I saw her, and she's behind me, like keep an eye open. And so he did, and I didn't hear anything, because you don't have comms or anything. So I like was running, but I was like, I don't know, maybe someone would have like told me if like there was a small gap. And so I was running, and we ran like all through these castles and vineyards, and everything was amazing. We popped out on this road, and I see my coach is sitting like in his car, like on this section. And I like run by, I'm like, oh, hi, like, how's it going? How's it going? And he's like, you've got to run faster. She is right behind you.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, yeah, whatever. Stop like trying to make me run faster for the last section. And he's like, no, I'm not kidding. I like turn around, and she's sprinting like 300 feet behind me. And so I'm like, okay, how far do I have? And he's like, 6K. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
It was a race to the finish.
It was a race, and I just had to sprint.
That's why you got that course record.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I finally picked it up enough.
Wow. And you were off course. Wow.
But it was really fun. I didn't go too far off. So it was it made it like super exciting, and to hold on to the win was amazing. I definitely thought she was going to catch me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was just a really fun, like you said, like when you're feeling, by the time I saw my coach, I was kind of feeling tired. It was getting towards the end and maybe not as much energy and stuff. And kind of like, okay, like let's get there. And then to have the excitement that kind of just brought in this extra burst of speed was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that just like unknown, like intangible, there's like energy that boosts you.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So amazing. So I'm going to be a little selfish here. I'm actually running my first 100 miler in May. What advice do you have for somebody like me? I'm trying to break 20 hours, who's done 100K, but now making the step to 100 miler. Any advice that you have for me?
Yeah. First off, what's 100 miler?
I'm doing the Folsom 100, so another smaller event, but I thought I'd cut my teeth locally. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's just cool to know which course because then you know which terrain you're on.
yeah,
And yeah, so for me, like definitely be conservative to start, but don't be too conservative. Like don't hold back because also you feel good at the start. So you may as well use some of that energy. Just be really smart. Don't put yourself in any holes early. Stay super high on your hydration and nutrition, and your salt because it'll be warm. And staying cool. With states and everything, everyone around here has seen how to cool, and everyone knows like water helps a ton. Stay wet, stay cool, but then in the evenings don't let yourself get too cold. That's a big thing because when you're going for 20 hours, so you're going to be in the dark or at least the cool for some of those hours. Just be aware you can get cold, so put a jacket on. Don't lose extra energy trying to stay warm when you could be using that running. Always move forward. So like if you start feeling, like your stomach's cramping or something like that, like just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Try not to like stop and bend over because that's the time that adds up pretty quick and suddenly you're behind because you were stopping. That's great. Like 20 hours is such a good goal. But you do have to keep moving forward on that. And try and split up your 100-mile race into like little sections. Like maybe it's aid stations or the course, this area. So find some cool things to focus on. And once you get done with a section, like you're done with it. Doesn't matter how it went, whatever, like too late or, wow, it went amazing. But you got to focus on the next section. But also remember your mind only has so much space. You can't think about the whole 100 miles for all 20 hours. So try and think of like 6 miles and remember like, 6 miles. I do that in my casual run, daily. And just give your body a lot of positive feedback.
Okay. Yeah, I talk to myself a lot. Some good, some bad, but sometimes I'll curse at myself. I'll go, come on, you can do this.
For sure. We all do that. The more you can stay positive on it and, give yourself positive encouragement, but also having standards for yourself. Like, you want to hit 20 hours, so stick to that goal. Don't early be like, I'm sure it's okay if I do 24. Like, no.
No, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. I will take that definitely to heart and keep that in mind. So you'll definitely help me push along the way. So now back to you. You've been in the sport for how long now? I mean, pretty short time, maybe 7 years. So pretty short. The last 3 years, you've just been probably one of the most consistent in the sport, especially when the stages are the largest. What do you think has been the keys to your success at this point right now? Why you keep progressing and having pretty high finishing results?
Yeah. I mean, I have a team of coaches that I completely trust, and they've helped me make big steps and just be really stoked about where I'm at and keep enjoying the process. And they haven't, told me like, oh, well, you should be, doing better right now. It's like, no, we just consistently on this path. I'm still a young athlete in the sport,
Yeah.
and I love what I do, and I love that they are all in to support that too. And, as long as I'm enjoying, like, they're as happy, which is really cool. And then, we do have big goals, and I have big goals too, but also realizing like I'm not going to get them all right now. So do the work diligently, and that's, down to the small little mobility routines each day and the strength. I mean, I worked with my coach for the whole 7 years, but then my strength coach, I took him on in 2021, but I worked with him in college, and I actually like kept some of his stuff through college. He was my cross country and track coach in college, and I've had like his key little routines that I still do today. So it's been 10 years since I started doing his work, and I'm seeing results from the first year showing up now. So I've really seen that it takes a lot of time. And like, yes, you do get the initial differences and changes and everything, but your most like amazing kind of evolution of like strength or skill, like they take a long time. And so just sticking in it for the long term, I think has been like my best part of the journey, and my biggest key to kind of staying consistent.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's like more of a holistic approach, kind of long game, broad view of what's going on.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So last question here. We'll end it. What are you inspired by, and how does that influence your mindset as both a person and, a professional athlete?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh. Like so much, I think like my parents always gave me the best opportunities growing up, and they made it possible for me to come over here, and so I really don't take for granted this opportunity to be here. And obviously every opportunity that's come from being able to follow my passion and be sponsored, and get the opportunities to travel and race everywhere and meet really amazing people, that's like all inspirational. And I really want to like take the opportunity, especially from my parents who are the core, and like live my best life, because they gave up so much for me and looked after me so well, and so they're probably my inspiration. And I love them, and I love being able to chat with them and share the journey, and just I'm so grateful for every opportunity.
That's amazing. And then, so that's awesome that your parents are kind of your foundation and your inspiration. Now, how about your mindset as a runner? You seem very competitive, but very focused, but then very humble at the same time. How would you describe your own mindset as a professional athlete?
Ooh, yeah, I mean, it's all, there's a lot that goes into it. I just love it. I try
That's
not
all.
to
It's
get,
all love.
it's all love. I try not to get too caught up on like the competition side, or comparing myself to others, like even in a race, like really trying to just focus on my race plan, which obviously sometimes takes into account everyone around you, and you have to place yourself perfectly and all of that, but trying not to get too caught up in that, trying to. And recently this has become a really big, it kind of was a door opener recently, not only on racing side, but in life, of trying to just stay in the moment. And as I was joking yesterday, there's this really cool video of like how women's minds are, everything's attached to everything, whereas guys get to put things in boxes, and like boxes don't touch. And very like convenient. And like, as much as like both ways of thinking are superpowers, and you don't want to lose any of that, sometimes I think I could find myself getting caught up in like, oh well, if this happens right now, then this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. It's like, I don't know if it actually will, but everything's kind of just connected. And so letting that connection happen, but letting the things that don't actually impact the situation right now pass by, so they're observed and given credit, and then if they're not gonna like change your world right now, like actually letting it go. And just staying in that moment. So it's been really fun, and I think it's more my personal journey. Like my mindset is really on that, which has been really exciting to kind of be a part of. And yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your perspective, your insights. That's amazing. And thank you for joining this podcast. It's been a ton of fun. Learned a lot, and it was great to get to know you a little bit better. I'll be rooting for you. I hope to be on course at Western States. I definitely will be. I probably do some camping out there and,
Perfect.
and be at a few spots along the way. So I expect to see you coming through charging hard. So I'll be rooting for you. And thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it. Love the opportunity to chat. Thank you for great questions. And yeah, super excited to see you out on the course and around more.
Definitely. All right. We'll talk soon, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.